tell me about your movie.
What would you like to know?
What did you set out to make? Tell me, for somebody who has, I have seen it, but my audience hasn't seen it. Why don't you introduce your film?
My film is Donny's Bar Mitzvah, and it's a film about it's a mockumentary about a 1998 bar mitzvah party. It's all taken from the perspective of the hired videographer from the evening. So it's supposed to feel as if you're just pushing in a VHS tape from 1998 and kind of viewing these experiences and these characters from the evening unfold. And it's very wacky. It's very weird. I'm sure that most audiences have never seen a film like this before. That was purposeful. And it's kind of like a bit of a slice of life while there's still, narrative component. There's a bunch of different characters that have their own side plots and stories that intermingle with another, but it's a crazy, out there, ridiculous film. That's the best way I can put it. I mean, you've seen it. Do you agree?
I would agree, yes. Is it autobiographical?
I would say that there's elements to it for sure that are autobiographical. I mean, I've been going to, I grew up going to bar mitzvah after bar mitzvah, weekend after weekend. It was just kind of like the culture. Literally every weekend would be one or two parties, like you'd have to decide which one to go to. And more often than not, like these parties were big, expensive, grandiose parties that were more so for the parents than for the kids, So that was kind of like the driving philosophy behind the film was these big parties are supposed to be for the kids, 13-year-olds, but like the Grey Goose and the caviar, those aren't for the kids,
Your characters, some of them are a little over the top, but there has to be a grain of truth in every one of them, otherwise it wouldn't work. So is there like an underlying motif in these characters?
I think every character is a caricature of a character that I've experienced, whether it's because when I started all my characters, I like to like you said, ground them in reality, just not like have them be completely like, oh, this character's this zany human being for this reason, So they all start as like kind of people that I know or a lot of traits from people that I know. And then as they develop, they kind of become caricatures of that initial core idea. But with that said, yeah, they're all more or less people that I've encountered in real life, but to exponential degree.
This is a very, you seem to have a lot of rimming and aficionados in this crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Do these bar mitzvahs, I've never been to one, but do they devolve into such zaniness? I mean, not to the extent of your movie, but do they get really out there?
There's a lot of things that happen at bar mitzvahs that people wouldn't, think, because they think, oh, it's a party for 13-year-olds. But like I said, like it's these parties that the parents get to put a lot of money in, they get to throw tons of money into this party without them looking like, oh, I'm throwing a big party for myself. It's like, oh, it's for my kid, So you could throw a big party and then all the adults get to kind of let loose and get super drunk. And things happen. Like, to be completely honest, just within my community, there's been a lot of affairs at bar mitzvahs. There's been a lot of parents are so drunk they can't drive their kids home. There's been a lot of like sketchy and just like things that you'd see in this movie have happened more or less in the real bar mitzvah scene. When you get a bunch of drunk parents that have nothing better to do than drink at a bar mitzvah, they'll get a little promiscuous.
So when did you get this idea? How many years have you been working on getting this movie made? Right?
Yeah. I basically thought of this idea in high school. It was more like, I just thought there's so much comedy to be had at a bar mitzvah, and nobody's ever made a bar mitzvah film. There's been all these other types of genres, and I just knew that there was so much absurdity and there's so much rated R content that could be placed inside the bar mitzvah scene. So I was writing down a bunch of ideas in high school, and then I moved to New York many, many years later, and I started writing the script, and I kind of put it aside. And then I've been always doing like kind of freelance filmmaking gigs. And one day I read the script, and I was laughing out loud while reading it. I was like, this is really funny. I need to finish this. So I basically ended all the projects I was working on, and I spent the next 3 months just hardcore writing the script, sending it out to some writer friends, getting revisions until I felt it was a good enough spot. And then I went and I began raising money for the script on my own, because it is still an ultra, it's a low budget film. And it's such an absurd concept. I was never going to get studio funding. So I just kind of went within my community and external community and really just went to a bunch of Jewish people trying to get them really excited about this film that because every Jew can really relate to this. And honestly, I really tried to not make this a Jewish film. I tried to make this just a film of the era that takes place at a bar mitzvah. So I really didn't try to make it like, oh, this is a film by Jews for Jews. It's like, no, this is just a party film at a bar mitzvah of the 1998 era. And I hope that you got that out of the film. But from the moment that I started raising money till now, it's been about 3 years total.
What about casting? I mean, you have some interesting actors. Did you have any problem casting it?
I got very, very lucky with casting. I reached out to a bunch of different casting directors, and the one that we decided to go with is a casting director that worked very specifically with children. And I knew that there was going to be a lot of children in the film, but they also, they knew a bunch of adults, and everybody that they chose. The way that I went about casting is I was trying to really look for people that embodied the character. It's not like, oh, they're a very good actor, they could be the character. When they came into the audition room, I wanted to believe that they were the character, that they 100% were that character. Because my whole directing process was I wrote down a bunch of funny lines, but I wanted the characters to live on their own, and I wanted the actors to improv and ad-lib lines and feel free to input their own creativity into the script. So casting was great. I ended up finding what I think was really, really just perfect casting for every role. That's one thing that people walk away from the film, they're like, wow, the characters in the cast were really fun to watch. And they all very much got into characters. They all added so much to the script and so much to the production. And I'm super fortunate to just have each of those members be part of the cast.
Your Donny was just a real stroke of luck.
Oh yeah. Even more stroke of luck was he was the very first person that we cast for the entire film. That we auditioned for the entire film. Happened to be Steele. Steele Stebbins is his name, and yeah, he was absolutely phenomenal.
Your press release starts with, following a series of international film festival rejections, audiences are finally invited to the digital release of Donny's Bar Mitzvah. How many film festivals, international film festivals, did you submit this to and get turned down?
Well, I was submitting to everywhere, knowing that I was going to get turned down. At one point, it just became like a game just to see how many rejections I can get. Because listen, I know I'm not getting into Cannes. I know I'm not getting into Sundance. It's a very over the top, raunchy shit show of a film, if I will. But and it just kind of became a game. So I would say too many to count. I don't know the exact number, but to me, it's a lot of these film festivals let in more of these art house type films. I made a film to try to make people laugh, and I think I accomplished that.
Having made this movie, what is your next film? Do you have your next film already worked out? Your project? Yeah. Is it
Yeah,
going to
I'm
be?
working on a couple different films right now. One film that I've been very close to and I've been working on, I'm excited about, is it's a film about it's based on a true story about a friend that basically started a fake ID ring in high school, accidentally almost, and ended up growing it to be an international, very, very large fake ID import export business. But it all takes place in high school, and it's very, very silly. So it's a crime movie that doesn't take itself too seriously. I like to think it's like Superbad meets Catch Me If You Can. Yeah, I've been writing that, and I'm pretty far along, and I'm feeling really confident and good about it. It's going to be a fun project. So that's probably my next move. But at the same time, there's a couple other things I'm working on, and I'm flexible, you know.
One last question: how did you shoot this film? Was it on VHS cameras, or did you use your phone? How did you shoot it?
I wanted to go and film this on VHS, like dumbed down or camcorder, but I was strongly urged not to by my producers, my production partners, because they said, just having the flexibility in post to, color or to punch in, for that extra bit of resolution, which definitely is true. I just kind of wanted to stay true to the format. I ended up down-resing all of the quality to, have that 4:3 and that VHS era aesthetic was all just a down-res that was put on during the post-color process. But it was filmed on cinema grade cameras. You would never know, but it was filmed on cinema grade cameras.
Now, your name, you've got a name and you've got another name. What's with the two names?
What's with the two names? That's a great question.
Which one do you want to go by?
You know what? That's to be determined. We'll see what people just start calling me. Jonny Comebacks is just kind of like a nickname that I've had for like a while that kind of stuck throughout the ages. And I've always liked it. And then when I started going into film and like actually making, this movie, a lot of people were pushing back and saying, it's not professional. You should be using your real name. It looks like you're trying to escape your film. It looks like you're trying to like hide behind something with Jonny Comebacks. And to me, it's like Jonathan Kaufman. There's 12 Jonathan Kaufmans on IMDb. You Google Jonathan Kaufman, you don't know what you're going to get. There's only one Jonny Comebacks, right? And that's me. So I basically went and I first like listened to the people that said change the name, and I went and I changed it back to Jonathan Kaufman. And then what ended up happening is IMDb just made it that it was Jonathan Kaufman, aka Jonny Comebacks, and I was like, you know what, that works. All right, that's straight. So yeah.